Hello friends, welcome to Data Pandit. So in continuation with the SQL playlist, so today we are going to understand about nested query, correlated subquery and join query. So we are going to understand the definition and then the practical approach uh, with the real example and real execution. So let's talk about what are the nested query. So nested query is a query which is written inside another query, you know and the result of this inner query is used to execute the outer query. you know if you want to see, let's hook up to the example. So if you look at this query, so I have an employees and department table. So so this is called a nested query. So query is, this is a nested actually, because the query is written within a query. So this is the outer query, and this is the inner query. So this is called a nested query. you know so query is written inside another query. This query is written inside outer query, and then this is called inner query and outer query, and the result of inner query is used. So first it will be executing, and the result of this is going to be used to execute this query. Okay, outer query. We will see the result of it after. Let's define all those things. So we have defined the nested query, and then there is a correlated subquery. So the correlated subquery, a query is nested inside another query, and the inner query uses values from outer query. So this is a different actually. Let's hook up to the example. So if you look at this query, select all from employee table where exist, select id from department table where department dot id is equal to employees dot department id. So what is happening over here is a query is, so this is another nested query basically, and this is outer query. Okay, but the execution of inner query is dependent upon the outer query, because we have a where clause here, right? So department.id, we need to equate it. The employed at department ID is coming in from the outer query. Therefore, the result, the nested query is inner query. It takes the values from the outer query. So this is the simple definition. So if you want to define the join query, so the definition of join query is join operation. So it is used to combine the data from data, or you can call it as a rows, from two or more different table, based on the some condition. So some condition in the sense of we have inner join, we have left outer join, right outer join, full outer join, right? So these are the different join actually. So there is no dependency as such, there is no inner or outer query. There is only one query, you know okay. So this is the um, simple definition of all those things. So let's what is the approach? So with respect to nested query, if you talk about, this is a bottom up approach. you know so the inner query running the first and only once. In case of sub, if you call it as, if you consider nested subquery, the approach is the inner query is going the inner query executed once. Okay, inner query is going to be executed first, and it is going to be executed once, and the outer query is executed with result from the inner query, right? So this is the nested subquery. If you talk about correlated, so this is a top down approach. So outer query executes first, and for every outer query row, inner query is executed. So outer query is going to be executed first. If you look at here, outer query is going to be executed first. For each row of outer query, inner query is going to be executed. See, the department employee department ID is coming in from the outer query. So this is how nested query run. The approach is. But in join operation, it is basically cross product satisfying a condition. So there is on condition, you know So there will be a cross product, and that result of the query, final query, is going to be dependent upon the type of join and also the on condition, right? So let's talk about the dependency. So with respect to nested subquery, inner query execution is not dependent on outer query. So because inner query is going to be running first, so the execution of inner query is not going to dependent upon the outer query. So this is called nested subquery. And the dependency in correlated subquery is inner query is dependent on the outer query, because for each run of outer query, inner query is going to be running. So if you talk about a join, there is no inner query or outer query concept, and there is no dependency as such. So if you talk about the performance, so this is very critical actually. So performance of nested query is better than the correlated subquery. You know, this is faster basically with respect to correlated subquery, but it is a slower than the join. Okay, and if you talk about correlated subquery, it is slower than the nested subquery, and also it is slower than the join query as well. So by using joins, what we can do is we can maximize the calculation burden on the database, but joins are better optimized by the server to the retrieval time of the query. Using joins will almost always is faster than that of the subquery. Okay. So if you talk about the performance, so first is join and then nested subquery and the correlated subquery, because it's a complex basically. So let's talk about how different ways we can create a nested query, and also we will talk about correlated subquery and the join operation as well. So let's so simple or important is to create two tables, insert some two or more tables probably, or one table, and then insert some record. So I have an employees table wherein I have like record like these. So as you know, we have already created these 6 to 7 record, right? And then I have a department table wherein I have some I have a department name as well. So in the schema test DB, I have created two tables basically. And then let's talk about the nested subquery first, and then we will talk about the different way of doing the nesting actually. So let's understand the first one. So select all from test.employee, test.db.employees, where department ID in select ID from the departments. So this is a simple query actually. So first it will be executed select ID from department and then the outer query. So everything will be returned. So all the rows will be returned, you know. If you look at the employee table, we will have, these 7 record and all the record will be returned, because every department, so these are the all department in employee table, right? So 1, 2, 3 and 9, all the departments are existed over here, right? All the department are existed over here. I think RAM is not getting displayed, right? Yeah, this is not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 employee number 5 is not going to be displayed because there is no department number equal to 9. There is no department which is equal to 9. So therefore, that is not going to be displayed because in department ID is 9 for RAM, right? So therefore, it is not going to be displayed. So now talk about not in. So in we have understood, not in we have understood. So how many record will going to be? Only one record. RAM is going to be displayed because not in clause. So in not in, let's talk about all clause. So I have taken employee table and there's another employee table, and I have conditionalized of inner query is using where department ID is equal to 2. So I am doing the all condition. Okay, select salary, select all the from employees where salary is greater than all the employees, where department ID is equal to 2. So you need to consider the salary of the people who are employees who are under the department ID 2, and we need to select all those people who has a salary greater than all, right? So if you run this query, so you will be returning this much. So if I run this query, department number 2, what is the salary? 600, right? So if you took it, so this is going to be more than 600, 800 and 200, 800 and 1000. So all these two will become, otherwise all the people will not come. So nested subquery is also, let's say any. So these are the four keywords actually: in, not in, all, any, exist, right? So these are the keyword, getting used actually when you run, nested subquery. So let's say this one. So what is the salary where in department ID 1? 1400, 500. So salary should be greater than any of it. Meaning, so all the people, any of it in the sense of any of it, let's say, so how, who will be coming? So we have a three salaries, right? Greater than any of. So minimum is 400. So all the people will be displayed, right? Who will be the salary 400 or more, because minimum is 400. So all the people who are earning more than 400 will be displayed. So that is this is what it is happening. So not less than 400, right? So that is this one. Employee number 2 is not coming. Let's say what is the employee number 2, because employee number 2 is earning only 400, right? So therefore it is not coming. Greater than, if I could have done equal to, then it will be coming, I think. See, it has come. I have made it greater than, therefore it is not coming. So let's talk about correlated subquery. So I said, right, so there will be a dependency of execution of inner query to the outer query. So see, I am referring the outer table, employee table, right? So if the I want to replicate this one, because this is equivalent to this in clause. Okay. So the same result would come. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 will not come. So this is the same as this one. Here also 5 did not come, right? So this in clause is equal to the this correlated subquery. So what is happening is, select all from test employee where exist. It is saying that exist select ID from employee where department.id is equal to, so ID of this department ID of employee is being equated with the department ID of the department. So if it is, let's say I'm taking the department ID, let's say uh, this record is getting considered. So it is in 1. So I'm taking the 1 equal to department, 1 equivalent to departments.id, and then it will be displayed. Similarly, 1, 2, 3, when equal to comes to 9, because its 9 is not available over here, so it is not going to be displayed. The employee who is under the department ID 9, it is not going to be displayed because it is not, this condition is not going to be satisfied, this where clause. So this is how we, and there is another way of writing the correlated subquery is like, let's say I'm equating employee and I am taking their salary is greater than, select average salary from the employee where manager ID is equal to same. So we want to display all the people whose, you know, salary is greater than average salary of the people who under the same manager, right? So let's say what is the result. So this Mridul Williams, right? Michael Williams and Mridul Sharma. So this the meaning of it is this Michael Williams, which is under the manager ID 1, it is getting salary as 600, which is greater than the average salary of the people who are under my manager ID 1. Okay. Similarly, so this Mridul Sharma is getting displayed because his salary 800 is greater than average of manager ID 2 people. That you can see and look at it, right? So similarly, if you want to consider the join operation, so this is how we write the join. So let's say inner join. So we will just write, select all from employee where inner join department on a dot department ID is equal to b dot department b dot ID. So this is how the result will be considered. So this will be displayed, right? Right. This is how. So okay, test DB. I could have considered because I have a two schema. So I think I had taken the wrong thing. Now there will be a proper result basically. So because I have two schema having the same tables actually. So this is how we can understand about the nested subquery, correlated subquery, and the join operation. So there is a difference. There is a difference of in execution plan, the approach, and the performance of the query. Okay, but in some of the some of the questions we cannot avoid to use the correlated subquery or nested subquery, right? Even though the performance is a bit slower, but we have to use, you know. So therefore we use that. Thank you so much. Please subscribe my channel, and we are going to see